How do you sing high notes in a chest voice? You can't. Well, actually you can. You just shouldn't. I know that's probably not what you were expecting to hear. I'm used to that. Let's talk about why. So your chest voice is actually part of the classical singing technique. I'm referring primarily to contemporary singers, and here's why. In classical singing, where you have a chest voice and you have a head voice, it's acceptable for you to only use your chest voice in the lower parts of a song and to switch into a head voice for the higher parts. In contemporary singing, that's really frowned upon. No one wants to sing in a head voice, and no one wants to hear you sing in a head voice in contemporary music. What happens is that a lot of contemporary singers are stretching that chest higher than it's meant to go. So let's talk about that. Your chest voice, which I said is part of the classical technique, is created by raising the soft palate in the back of the throat, like a yawn. Oh, so that is a chest voice sound. Oh, right? You also make that same space in order to create a head voice. So, oh, this is a head voice. Obviously, we don't speak like that ever because it sounds crazy. So the chest reaches a certain point where if you stretch it higher than that limit, then you're putting your voice at risk for vocal damage. To be clear, a lot of singers do stretch that past where it's meant to go, and that's why they have lots of problems. Hoarseness, nodes, polyps, voice loss, vocal fatigue, all of those things are possible when you stretch that chest higher than its natural limit. So, what is its natural limit? Well, for female voices, the natural limit is the A above middle C. And for male voices, the limit is the F sharp above middle C. Let's hear what those sound like. I'm going to go turn on my piano. For female voices, that chest limit is the A above middle C. And for male voices, that chest limit is the F sharp above middle C. So you can hear that's not really very high. That doesn't give you a whole lot to work with. Anything higher, if you're in a classical space with that kind of lift, you're going to have to switch into a head voice in order to stay healthy. And like I said, nobody wants to do that or to hear you do that. I don't recommend that you ever sing high notes in your chest voice because it's going to be very damaging to your vocal cords. So why are contemporary singers doing this? Well, most people don't know that the chest voice has a limit. And then they suffer consequences and they don't understand that it's related to those choices that they're making by stretching that chest voice higher. Also, a lot of times classical technique is all that's available to singers when they're trying to learn how to do things. And so there are teachers out there telling you to make all this space in the back, even though it's very dangerous when you're singing contemporary music because you want it to be stronger and not head voicey. So contemporary singers are doing this a lot of times because they don't know any better, and also because the terminology out there is telling them to do it, and they're not understanding that there's a difference, because classical is the only thing that most teachers are teaching. But there are two other techniques, belt and mix, which are contemporary techniques, which give you a whole lot more flexibility with your voice and allow you to do things with it that you cannot do when you are in the classical technique. So, like I said, the classical technique has that raised soft palate in the back, which allows you to either be in your chest or in your head. And it does that when that soft palate raises all the way, it blocks off the passageway into your nose, so nothing can come out of there. Now, if you've ever noticed, when you speak, it's all coming out of there, right? Quick test for that, you can plug your nose. And you can hear that everything is coming out of my nose while I'm plugging it, right? However, if you plug your nose while you are in a raised soft palate, because it's blocking this off anyway, it won't sound like you're plugging your nose at all. That's the difference between your contemporary singing voice and your classical singing voice. When you are in a contemporary place, The need to switch from one place to another does not exist. It goes away completely. Both of those techniques have a full range with no breaks in it whatsoever. So contemporary singers are making this mistake of trying to stretch that chest voice higher because they don't even understand that the other is possible for them. They haven't heard of it before. They haven't experienced it. And they might hear singers doing something that sounds powerful and high, and they try to do it using the classical terminology that they have or the classical instruction they've received. And that's what causes problems in the voice. Let's talk about how to sing high notes without using your chest voice. So obviously I mentioned that you're going to want to learn the two techniques of belt and mix. I have loads of videos out here that teach both of those things, so you can check those out, and I'll give you another resource in a little bit to help you with that as well. So without the chest voice, you want to think about volume and space as well as vowel modification. If you are a classical singer, obviously you're not going to use a chest voice, you're going to use a head voice. So whether you're in a head voice or whether you are in belt or mix, in order to do high notes, you want to make sure that you have the right volume, the right space, and the right vowel modification. So just like I said, that soft palate blocks off that passage, it also determines the kind of space that you make in your mouth. If you're raising the soft palate and blocking off the passageway into the nose, you are in classical technique, which means that space you need to be making is going to go this way. Oh, long, it's going to be dropped. Once you've dropped as far as you can, then, let me give you an example. So this pitch, let's say that I want to sing this pitch. I'm going to back up so I don't blow out this microphone. If I sing like that, do you see how dropped my jaw is to sing that pitch? Let's do this. This note, I'm going to go up to that pitch, and you'll see my mouth being down. I'm going, right? So, right? In order to accommodate that higher pitch, I have to widen because I've dropped as far as I can, right? Now, when it comes to belt and mix, it's exactly the opposite of that. So with belt and mix, we're going to this way as much as we can. And then once we've gone this way as far as we can, we're going to drop, right? So you end up with a different, so the other shape is like classical, and then contemporary is right? So it's more in the front, and the other is very back here, yeah? So I'll give you the example for belt and mix too. So I'm not going to go quite that high for belt and mix. I'm going to do mix. It's exactly the same. So we'll go, I'm going to do it on hey. So I'll go, hey! That's in a mix. And if I'm going to jump up to this pitch, it's going to drop. So I have, hey! Right? So you hear how I'm like, and then go, to hit the high note there, right? So the direction that you make the space is different depending on whether you're in classical or whether you're in contemporary. Also, vowel modification. With classical, because of the space that you're making, classical you want to think about very dropped, like vowels that are easy with high notes in classical would be ahs. I think e's are easy because you make a lot of space in the back anyway. On a classical e is like yee, right? So if I were to do right, it's not that hard because it's right. But what you do in a classical vowel, if the vowel is tricky, if it requires you to close your mouth in any way, whether it's classical or contemporary, if it's causing you to close your mouth, like oo is one of those. I is one that's really hard because it doesn't make a whole lot of space in your mouth. If you need a lot of volume and space in order to sing high notes, regardless of the technique, you want to make sure that you're doing something, that you're making your vowel have as much space as possible. So an oo, in classical, we would modify that to be more of a dropped O. So like a ooh, right? It becomes oh, but you think ooh, and it ends up sounding like ooh to your listeners. In contemporary, because we are thinking wide, an ooh vowel, when you're doing high and you need to think this, ooh does not exactly work very well with that, right? So it becomes more ew, right? So you want to think about modifying vowels to create the kind of space that you want your mouth to have in a way that is allowing you to have the kind of space you need, but still keeping the essence of the vowel. And here's the thing, you're never going to fool yourself. You're always going to hear the crazy modification of the vowel, but your listeners' brains will piece that together. I always think of those examples. If you've seen those posts that people do where it's like a whole sentence, but the letters are like backwards, or they're numbers, or they're pictures or something. It's not really it doesn't really look like an actual sentence because it's not all the letters of the alphabet. It's other stuff, symbols and characters and numbers. But your brain looks at it and is able to piece together. It's able to look at the things that are missing and piece together what's happening. The same happens when you're listening to someone sing and they're modifying their vowels. Your brain, your ears and your brain piece that together and it makes sense to you. So as the singer, you're never going to fool yourself, but you will fool your audience. They will know what you're singing, what the words are. So I hope that is helpful information to you about singing high notes. Remember, you don't want to use your chest voice to sing high notes ever, whether you're in classical or contemporary. If you want some more training, like I said, I do have some videos on here that will help you. Also, I have a program that's called No Limits Academy. There are links to it below. And No Limits Academy is a fantastic place where we learn all kinds of technique and skill and all kinds of elements of singing and performance. And you have a playground and opportunity to practice every single one of them for feedback. So I love the Academy. And what's really cool is that we have a 7-day free trial. So if you want to see what the Academy is like, get a feel for it for a week, you can. And you also get an opportunity to come to one of our end of the month master classes. So the link to that is also in the description below. Something else I want to tell you about. Let's say you try that 7-day Trial Academy membership and you love it and you're like, I want to do more of this. Well, I have this other really cool thing you may like that is called my second Saturday masterclass. And so the second Saturday of every month, I have a space for 20 singers to gather and get some custom feedback from me one-on-one in a classroom. So if that sounds like something that you would like to participate in, you can also check the link for that in the description below. I would love to have you. Like I said, there's only space for 20 people, but once a month it gives you the opportunity to get some feedback on whatever it is that you're working on in your singing. That is all I have for you today. I hope that this has been helpful.